Begin Self-Publishing, episode number 98. The latest tricks in self-publishing, InstaFreebie and Vellum, with Paul Teague.
Interested in self-publishing but don't know where to start? Want to get your book onto Amazon? Want to hold your paperback book in your hands? Learn how on the Begin Self-Publishing podcast with your host, Tim Lewis.
I have been mindful that I have been doing quite a few more marketing and maybe less self-publishing shows recently. So I thought I'd get on fellow self-publishing podcaster and former guest Paul Teague to talk about two new interesting things that have developed in the self-publishing area specifically. That is InstaFreebie, which I know everybody's talking about, and I kind of feel that I should probably be involved in some way, but clearly haven't been. And Vellum, which is a formatting program for ebooks for the Mac computer. Now, Paul Teague is interesting in that I know he's a very anti-Mac person, but he's also uses Vellum. So I thought I'd get to the bottom of how he's managing to use a Mac product to format his books, and how he's getting success with InstaFreebie for getting leads, and also to see how he's getting on with his move into the world of fiction writing as away from the old world of internet marketing and nonfiction. So now to the interview. Hi Paul, welcome to the show.
Hi there Tim, thanks for having me again.
Okay, so I've got you on to address my sad lack of self-publishing specific stuff in the last few shows. So we're going to be talking about InstaFreebie and Vellum today. What is InstaFreebie and why is it the hottest thing in self-publishing circles at the moment?
Well, InstaFreebie is one of these things that's doing the rounds. You know, if you listen, like I know you do, to podcasts and you're always looking at social media, it's really good for just getting the temperature of what's going on in self-publishing. And I'd heard a lot about InstaFreebie and BookFunnel. And interestingly, BookFunnel is actually the one I used first. So I was a fairly early adopter with BookFunnel. And I just used that to give out review copies to people. Or I think I can't remember what I used it for at the beginning, but basically it was really good just to send out copies securely rather than sending Mobi files in emails, which is not very good. And the other great thing about BookFunnel is that it kind of gives you instructions. So when people are saying, I don't know how to do this, BookFunnel take the strain with that. So I used BookFunnel first, and I wasn't really sure about the difference between that and InstaFreebie. All I knew is that InstaFreebie was paid and BookFunnel I was able to use for free. So I came to it quite late. And it was just one of those things where I heard so many people talking about it. I thought, I've got to give this a go. I can't remember what inspired me to take part in a giveaway. But, sometimes the penny drops, doesn't it? You're doing something and you think the penny finally drops. And I realised what was going on with these things called InstaFreebie giveaways. So you can use InstaFreebie if you want to at a free level just to give your book away. And that's kind of what I thought it was about at first. But actually, if you upgrade on InstaFreebie, you can do things called giveaways. Now, I think I've told you before, Tim, in my evil internet marketing past, several years ago, the way I built my list, it took me a year to get 25 subscribers when I first started list building in 2009, 2008 it may have been. So a long time ago when I really started internet marketing. And then I discovered things in internet marketing called joint venture giveaways. And joint venture giveaways in internet marketing terms are very similar to what we're doing with InstaFreebie giveaways. And that is that people in internet marketing are giving away usually ebooks. They're usually ebooks about, how to use YouTube, how to be fantastic on Facebook and things like that. And what happens is people team up, they send email traffic to this giveaway, people load up with freebies and everybody builds their list. And I got my list from 25 in something like a 9-month period up to 5,000 and beyond. And when I started taking part in those giveaways, because I'm a little bit technical and geeky like you, I don't have any trouble with the websites. I thought, the place to be with these things is not taking part in them, is running them and organising. That's where the action is. And then, you make money, you get affiliate income, all sorts of things. And also you build your network because you're the go-to guy all of a sudden for giveaways. And with these internet marketing giveaways, I did those for a while. And actually my first product on ClickBank, which we sold about 8,500 to 9,000 of, was all about how you do that and then subsequently turn that into online income. So when I started seeing actually what these InstaFreebie giveaways were all about, I thought, hang on, this is exactly what I was doing in internet marketing, but it's for authors. And, just like in internet marketing, I thought, right, okay, I need to get a feel for this very quickly. And there might be something here if I actually organize these events and start to host them and run them as I used to do in internet marketing. Because it's the same old game, frankly. Build a list, make affiliate income, and generate a lot of traffic. So that was my sort of initial interest in it.
How do you go about hosting an InstaFreebie giveaway? I mean, how does it all work? How do you get the hosting to work?
Okay, so there's two ways to do this. And, if you really don't like building websites, or if the idea of installing even a Wix site or a WordPress site, that horrifies you, you're probably not going to be able to host an InstaFreebie giveaway. But I know we always get a little resources page when we do interviews with you, Tim. One of the resources I'd be grateful if you could put on there is my Alliance of Independent Authors video, where I show you how to create a WordPress site for free within an hour. So that, because it's specifically geared to showing you how easy it is actually when you know how. But so you need to be able to build a website. So if you can't do that, you're probably going to have to take part as somebody who lists their book. You're going to have to take part in a giveaway, send somebody who's hosting it your image and your author picture and your link to InstaFreebie, and they will do the technical stuff. I think I took part in one or two as a contributor just to get the feel for how it all worked. And then I held one of my own. And so to do that, I had to build a WordPress site, and I had to figure out how I could put, lines of book covers on there and buttons so that people could click download to access the InstaFreebie pages. So you've got to have that skill at least. But when I held them, because, as I say, with my evil internet marketing past, to me, this is traffic generation is all it is. Massive traffic generation. So if I think I had 35 people, I think, on my giveaways. And so you're sending a lot of traffic to a page over a week. So the other thing I did, which I'm sure you'll like, because I know you looked at Facebook advertising, is I've created a custom audience from it. So I put all the pixels on for Google, for Twitter, and for Facebook. And my sole aim of hosting these things was, number one, getting a lot of traffic to a site. Number two was building a network of other authors, getting to know other authors. Number three, because I use tracking links on my giveaway, I worked out who were the big hitters there. I want to know who's sending all the traffic, the 1,000+ clicks, people sending more than 1,000 clicks in a week. And then I'm skimming those off to do a kind of super giveaway to send traffic to my book when it's free on Amazon, when I've got a promo on for it. So, it works in all sorts of ways. And I've built a custom audience over a week of, I think it was 7,200, a crime custom audience in Facebook, which then, of course, I can create a lookalike audience for. So again, it's a fantastic way to create very, very fast a targeted by genre Facebook audience.
Wind back a little bit. If somebody's like, well, I'm not too sure about doing the whole hosting thing, how do they find these InstaFreebie giveaways to take part in? Where did you find the first couple of sort of InstaFreebie giveaways to become an author, to be just a participant in?
Well, I'll give you the names of a couple of sites. They're Facebook groups, really, and there are quite a lot of them about. And probably, again, it's probably best, because these are Facebook groups and they don't have neat URLs, probably best if I share those with you for the notes page. But I can tell you what they're called, and just do a Facebook search and you'll find most of them. InstaFreebie Promos is a great site. It's run by a guy called Dean Wilson, who's very, very switched onto this. I think this is, if you want to learn about them, this is the first place to go, InstaFreebie Promos. Another one I use is called the Authors Group Giveaway Meeting. And I think there's another word after that, but I can't see what it is on my screenshot. So Authors Group Giveaway Meeting something. There's another one called the Prolific Reader. Another one called InstaFreebie Share Group. And the other sort of top tip for this, actually, is that Mark Dawson, who runs the Self-Publishing Formula podcast, Mark Dawson has actually set up genre groups for many InstaFreebie giveaways. In fact, now I'm talking about it, this is probably where I got switched on to the idea of InstaFreebie. So Mark has all sorts of genre groups. So I'm in, crime and thrillers, dystopian. I think I'm in nonfiction, fiction. He's got all sorts of genre groups. So search out Mark and get involved in his genre groups too. There are loads of groups there. But I would recommend that if you want to just look and learn, go to the InstaFreebie Promos group run by Dean Wilson.
Obviously, you've got a WordPress. Does it have to be? It doesn't have to be a brand new instance of WordPress. It can it just be on your existing site on a different section, or is that something you recommend against?
No, it's up to you. I tell you what, when I started hosting them, Tim, what I was testing, because I kind of got that I could build all these audience and things. What I was testing is I used to host the giveaways, and I was trying to work out was can I charge people to do this at a price, where I'll make enough money to charge for the service. So can I say to people that'll be 200 quid, thank you very much, and I'll set up and run your InstaFreebie giveaway for you on my domain. And in the meantime, I'll be harvesting lots of Facebook.
All this information, yeah.
Audiences.
This is a return to your evil marketing ways, I think.
It's all fair in internet marketing. I am providing a service. What I did, and again, because I'm a little bit geeky, I used this as an excuse to built it already and tested it. It's a multi-site where I can very quickly just clone a site and create you an InstaFreebie giveaway. I was just trying to work out whether I could scale it. What price I could charge, what value it would create for people, and whether I can make some cash out of this. Because I thought, well, I'm going to do 4 of these things a month. I can make 1,000 quid out of it, and it's just rinse and repeat. It's just a cloning job once I've set up the core pages. And I wanted to see how much work and hassle was involved in that. Whether it was what my hourly rate would be. Frankly, having tested it now, I'd be better off flipping burgers at McDonald's. It's not something that I'm going to be doing commercially. But actually, I'm very happy to do them for myself. It's a great value to me personally, but I'm not going to sell it to other people. It's too many hours, too many hassles with it. It's not something I want to do. You can just do it on an existing site. To answer your question, just do it. It doesn't matter. You just need a page. So if you've got myblog.com, just create a page, myblog.com/crime giveaway, and off you go. It's fine. It's easy. Just add the book covers as pictures. At a very, very simple level. Just add the book covers as pictures, and just put a click here link to the InstaFreebie. That's really as simple as you could do it.
Okay, so is it kind of like BookFunnel, but it's more about the community aspect in terms of doing the giveaways and things?
Well, the giveaways really, the community aspect, it's great for the authors. It got me talking to the authors. And I've got some lovely feedback from my giveaways, actually, because, again, I have got air miles on this, and I've done this before. And one of the things I used to do is I provide training and support for authors, or I used to do a lot of training and tell people how to get the best out of a giveaway. And what I do on my giveaways, I have a leaderboard and I have prizes, and people get really competitive. I send an email out every night telling people who's at the top of the leaderboard and changing the leaderboard. They get really competitive and start, really thrashing their lists, trying to get to the top of the leaderboard. So what that does is it stops midweek fatigue setting in on the giveaway, and people get really competitive about it. So you squeeze the most juice out of the lemon, while you're marketing. From the other point of view, there's no kind of real relationship, I don't think, with the audience. I think my view of it is they're there to load up with freebies. And I got to tell you, if I were loading up with 35 freebies off a page, it would drive me spare going through signing up for all those email lists and getting all these cheery welcomes from authors, when you get the first book. So I think that the motivation of the person going for the freebies, I can't understand, personally, I can't understand what would make somebody go through that sign-up process so many times. It seems such a rigmarole. Maybe they just pick off the best ones. And there's another discussion to have about the quality of the person that you're then subsequently adding to your list. But the bottom line is, Tim, I've known what it's like to build a list of 25 over a period of a year. It's like pulling teeth. It's terrible. It's really hard. And, there's nothing like InstaFreebie. I've done Facebook ads too. I've been through all the things that everybody's been through. There is nothing like InstaFreebie for getting your list from 0 fairly safely to 5,000 in a very short period of time. Now, what happens after 5,000? I do think it has an upper limit in that people start getting InstaFreebie fatigue. You start to see the same old books doing the rounds. So I think it very definitely has a lifespan, very definitely. But I would say to all new authors, this is the way to get your list from 0 to 5,000. Within, it's not unreasonable to say within a 3-month period.
So InstaFreebie is one of the big things, but changing tack slightly. The other thing it's been around for a while is a package called Vellum, which people are using to format ebooks. Now, I think it's been around and considered to be like a Mac product, but you've recently started using it from your PC, haven't you? How are you doing that?
Are you a Mac user?
I've got a Mac, but I don't use it, no.
All right, so I can insult Mac users, that's okay. No, I had a Mac, I bought a Mac, it must be 5 years ago now, maybe, and I hated it, and I just won't touch Macs, I hate them. So you can imagine my sort of rage when you hear all these authors sort of saying, Vellum's fantastic, but oh, by the way, you've got to have a Mac. And this was kind of, agitating, was hearing about Vellum. Now, I have formatted my own books in the past. So, again, like you and me are a little bit geeky. So the experience for me when I did my first books was to upload the Word file into KDP, and then I downloaded the HTML files and I made my corrections in HTML because that was much simpler for me to do. And that's how I did my first books. And then again, I'm immersed in blog posts and podcasts, and people keep talking about Vellum. And I tend to chug these things away in my mind, like I did with the InstaFreebie thing. I sort of think, okay, so what's in this? Is what can I squeeze out of this? And is there anything in it for me? And I've been using, I can't even remember why I was using it, but I use a tool called Mac in Cloud. I can't remember for the life of me why I started using it, Tim. Mac in Cloud is effectively a service that you pay, I think it's $30 for 30 hours use, something like $1 an hour, but you pay $30 to get, you don't buy $1 an hour, you don't pay as you go. I think you can pay as you go, but I don't. I buy $30 a time. That gives me 30 hours. And what it does is it creates a virtual Mac machine on your PC. So you log into Mac in Cloud, pay your $30, and effectively what you then see on your PC screen is a virtual Mac, and it's your virtual Mac. So if I save a document on it, next time I log in, my document will be there. It's my secure Mac area. And what that allowed me to do then, and I wish I could remember why I started using that. It wasn't for Vellum originally, but in the way that brains work, I was probably lying on my, far too early in bed one morning, as I tend to do, chugging things in through my head. And I had one of these eureka moments again, where I thought, hang on a minute, I could download Vellum onto my virtual machine. I want to license it properly. It needs to be licensed. I don't want to do any cheats or anything. So I want to pay for the software, download it and license it. And I could use that on a virtual machine. So I thought, when the minute I got this, I was straight on it, paid for Vellum, downloaded it, and it works brilliantly. It's absolutely superb, which means I don't have to own a Mac. And I just have to go on half an hour at a time. Now, the first book I ever formatted in Vellum is as good as they say, Tim. Have you done anything in Vellum yet?
No, I haven't yet. So hence the interest.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I've done two things recently. That I've just today taken delivery of three of my first three thrillers, and I paid to get those formatted for CreateSpace, and it cost me, was it $250 or something for three, 90,000 word books.
Yeah.
And they look fantastic. I haven't touched them. I've just got the proofs back today. They look fantastic. Right, $250 well spent. The hassle I have doing that job. It's just really worth it to me. And it was the same with Vellum. Honestly, Vellum is astonishing. It's every bit as good as people say. In that, I really don't know how they do it. I think you've built software, haven't you, Tim? You know about software development. And, a great software should be intuitive. It shouldn't confuse you. And Vellum's almost like sentient. You pretty well import your document, your proofread Word document into it. It's just amazing. It puts all the indents in. It puts all the chapter headers on. It senses them automatically. The minute you drop your book in, it looks incredible. And then you just go through a few steps where you just say, I want my chapter headings with a swirly bit at the top or a straight bit or whatever you want. Just a few stylistic things. You export it, and it exports the file for KDP, for Google Play, for Kobo, separate files that are perfectly attuned. And you can be done with a format in, quite literally half an hour. And it's an absolute breeze. And the minute you do one book, you'll never go back. I'm never, ever going to mess around with HTML ever again. I just, I bought the software, forget the trial, just buy it, and I'm in. I'm well in, and I can't wait for them to produce the next version, which is apparently it's going to allow you to format your CreateSpace books, which will just be phenomenal if it does as good a job as it does on the ebooks. But a couple of little tricks, Tim, if you're going to do it, because you've got this virtual Mac. So when you create these files, you're downloading them to a virtual Mac. So it's on your computer, but it's not connected to your computer. So the ninja trick here is to set up a Dropbox folder or a OneDrive or whatever you use, a Google Drive, and then to make sure that I have a Mac in Cloud folder that syncs between my sort of Mac in Cloud virtual space and my computer. So the minute I save it in Mac in Cloud, it pops up on my real computer. Now that takes, if you're not very geeky, that takes a little bit getting your head round. Where is it and how's it doing that? But you get the drift, don't you? That you need to transfer it. So the pain in the butt way would be to email it to yourself. Well, don't do that. I just save everything in my Mac in Cloud drive, and then the transference is instant. And then if I need to sort of pop a cover in to upload, I just drop it in the Mac in Cloud and it's there instantly. And I drop it into the Dropbox folder on my PC and it pops up immediately in my Mac in Cloud. But that's the ninja way to manage that, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about InstaFreebie, we've talked about Vellum. I suppose we should follow up on how you were getting on from your move away from nonfiction to fiction, which we talked about the last time you were on the show. How would you say that's going? How would you say, I mean, obviously I listen to your diary shows and you're writing a lot. How is the transition to fiction going for Paul Teague?
Well, yeah, it's just very interesting you say that, actually, and I'm pleased you did ask, because I have made an executive decision in the last week, actually, I've unpublished and I'm no longer supporting my Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter books. Reason for that is I'm cheesed off with them, changing every 5 minutes. It's like an albatross, and I'm not playing that game anymore. And in actual fact, I do a lot of corporate training. I've said I'm not doing certain things anymore because I'm just fed up, chasing my tail to keep up. And I should have learned this lesson a long time ago. I built a Facebook software in whenever it was, 5-6 years ago. And, the lesson I learned from that was never build a software on somebody else's platform, because this was when they changed, I don't know how long you've been on Facebook, but they changed the width of the panel that they use from whatever it was, 500 and whatever it was, but they didn't warn anybody, and so instantly overnight your software doesn't become obsolete, but you've either got to decide, right, is this time to call it a day, or am I going to extend my Facebook panels to the length? And it's just like, it's a mugs game. You just chase your tail all the time, and Facebook are like some temperamental child, that just have temper tantrums every now and then. So I should have learned that lesson then, but I persisted. So I've now unpublished those. What I am going to do with non-fiction is I'm putting my eggs into some different baskets. I do a lot of corporate training for WordPress, and I am going to update my WordPress guide, and I'm going to produce that as a paperback, and I'm actually going to sell that when I do corporate events. And I am thinking, actually, I'm going into the sort of expert positioning, but I'm going to boil it down to areas that don't keep changing every 5 minutes. So there's three things I know a lot about. One is email marketing, one is webinars using GoToWebinar, and the other one is WordPress. So those are going to be my three non-fiction channels. I'm going to update the books that I've done in those, and I'm going to turn them into paperbacks, and I'm going to flog them alongside my corporate training, because I've got a natural, ongoing renewing audience there. And actually, they've always sold pretty well anyway on Amazon. So the fiction, I think when we spoke, I must have had 6 fictions, or did I have 3 fictions? And then maybe I was just about to publish the last 3. I can't remember. I've got 6 sci-fis now. And then what I did last year was I transitioned to thrillers and crimes. So I've got 3 thrillers out, 90,000 worders. I wanted to sort of stretch my exercise muscle. So I did a trilogy of 90,000 worders last year. I'm about to publish a 40,000 worder. It was 50,000, but my editor edited it to death, and it's now 42,000 words. So that's going to be a freebie. That's going to be the sausage on a stick to get people to buy the bigger thrillers. And I'm writing and hope to have, well, it will be released, it's got to be, in August, my 5th thriller. And I've done that specifically to set up a sales funnel. So I want to have free, 99p, and then I'll have a 199. And I've set it up so I make my money on the trilogy. That's where I want to make the money, on the trilogy. And so I'm sort of softening them up with the shorter, cheaper books, but the trilogies, specifically where I want to make my money. And I'm going to keep the prices of those higher as well. So slightly different to what I'm doing in sci-fi. With sci-fi, the first book is free, and I make money on the next 2. And frankly, that's sort of self-perpetuating. It still works. But with the sci-fi, the thrillers, because they're long and they took, 90,000 is a lot of words, I didn't want to give those away. I wanted to make some money from those. And I tell you, interestingly, what I've done with those as well is I've done 2 box sets. I've done a box set of book 2 and 3, and I've done a box set of 1, 2, and 3. And I'm doing, really, I say really well. I haven't really started marketing it yet. The marketing for real will start when I've got the 5-book funnel, really. That's when it will start for real. But I'm selling a lot of box sets, which is good because I make good money on those. I make £5-6 a time on those. So it's sort of early indications are it's going okay.
And with the InstaFreebie giveaways, what books are you giving away on them? Are you giving away your free one, or are you giving away like what would be the 99p copy or something along those lines?
So with the InstaFreebie, I've taken part in a couple of dystopian ones. So I'm giving away the full version of the free book on those. With the crime giveaway, I have got Don't Tell Meg, which is my first 90,000 word thriller. That is on KDP Select. Here's a top tip for you, actually. So on KDP Select, you're allowed to give away 10% of the book for free. So what I did there was I gave away a sampler of 10% of the book, and I adapted the cover and put sampler on it, and that's what I gave away because I wasn't allowed to give away the free book. Now I'm only going to give away Don't Tell Meg for free once. I'm doing a promo, and it's going to be, this is the only time it's going to go away for free, and I need to do this just to get some traffic going through it while I'm writing the other 2 books, and I'm writing as fast as I can, but it'll be available for about, I think it's 5 days, the 5 days of one KDP Select promo. And I've loaded up about 5 or 6, free bookses and whatever they are, all the list of things. And then I've also coincided my InstaFreebie promo for then as well. And I'm just going to drive a shed load of traffic at it for 5 days just to get people moving through it. So, to get some, good sales going through it. And to be honest with you, I think the sales are actually coming from, I was saying about the box sets and the sales that I'm getting. It is actually selling, and they must be coming from that 20% from InstaFreebie. It's the only way I've promoted it at the moment. So I just want that to just, get it going until I can hit August when I've got the 3 books, and then I can start to do some proper marketing with the funnel set up. But the problem with books is it takes so darn long to write and proof and produce. There's only so much I can do at once. But I don't want to, diminish Don't Tell Meg. I want to keep the price high on that. So it's only going to get 5 days for free. Then it's $3.99 after that. And I want to stick to that because I want to make some money out of this rather than keep giving stuff away free or cheap.
And I suppose the other question is, all these email addresses that you're getting from the InstaFreebie giveaways, how are you kind of maintaining that list? Are you sending them like weekly emails, or are you just basically just waiting until you've got something to sell? How are you dealing with the lists?
Am I allowed to use the word on your podcast?
I don't know. I don't know if it's allowed or not on the, I could just bleep it out. So.
Well, that's how I'm doing. I'm really, for somebody who's done internet marketing, for so long, I'm terrible at emailing. I'm not really a kind of, Facebook groupie person, which doesn't mean I'm antisocial. It's just not my environment, that. And so, I know I ought to be emailing, and I do have automatic emails set up, but I am rubbish at it, and I know what to do. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I know all the tricks, but I'm just not good at it. Well, it's not good at it. I just don't want to do it. I'm just lazy with it. It's just one of those things I can't get to doing. So, no, you get some automated follow-ups. You get all the bits and pieces that you expect. I move you into social media and things like that. But I'm rubbish. I'm rubbish at doing the cheery hello every Friday, and giving you all my news. It's just not my sort of natural environment or natural way to communicate. So yeah, I'm rubbish. I know all the bits and pieces. It's like all of these. As soon as I get these lists, I stick them in Facebook. I create a custom audience. I create a lookalike audience. I know all the things I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not doing them. So that's my fault, isn't it? I don't know what it is. I was talking to somebody. I was interviewing somebody for my podcast last night, and I said, there must be a point on social media and things like that where you feel that people are kind of really interested in what you say, but at the moment they're not. It's like if I tweet my wise words, it's like a little bit of tumbleweed rolls by, and so it just doesn't feel like you're really talking to anybody at the moment. And I think that's the bit I struggle with, that kind of really close connection. I don't really feel like I've got it, but then that's chicken and egg. I haven't earned it, have I? So yeah, I know what to do. I know all the theory. I know how to do it, but I don't do it.
So are you worried that when you get round to actually wanting to email all this emailing list to say, like, buy my book, that they're just going to be use this person and unsubscribe? Is that a worry for you, or do you think that it's worth it just having the list anyway, even if you haven't got the ability necessarily or the willing to email them regularly?
Yeah, I don't know. I just know I ought to email them more regularly. They don't sort of unsubscribe. You know, I have a reasonable open rate with it. It's fine. I don't get sort of complaints or anything. And, you know, I managed to get, with fairly little effort, I was, you know, if I'd have been on the leaderboard in my own giveaways, I'd have been right at the top there in my own giveaway. So, you know, I can still squeeze it out if I need to. Just a bit poor and lazy with it. I tell you what, you know, everybody says, you know, you should get an assistant. I should get an assistant. You know, I really should get an assistant to do things like my social media scheduling. I do it every week and I hate doing it. I wish I had an assistant to do this. And it's the same with my email marketing. You know, I wish I could just say, you know, here's this week's campaigns, make it so, and just, you know, walk away and have a cigarillo or something. You know, they're just not jobs that I enjoy. They don't feel like creative jobs to me, and so I'm not good at them.
Yeah, well, that's something I've got a few people in mind to try and interview about getting VAs and virtual assistants and the like, because that's something that I know I need to do more of, which is outsourcing stuff. But it's always very hard when you're not necessarily making huge amounts of money to think, well, am I prepared to pay somebody else to do this stuff, even though I know I should be doing it? So it's kind of understandable just thinking, oh, well, I'll email them when I've got something to sell.
Exactly, and you see, you know, I've done a lot of work with VAs. You know, I've done a lot of studying. I've done courses, and all, you know, I know all the game, and I know that you should get a VA. Everybody says get a VA before you actually need one. And actually, to be honest with you, Tim, I was having conversations about a VA around Christmas time, and I nearly got one. And I think she had to go off, you know, somebody increased her hours or something and she couldn't do it, or maybe she hated me, whatever. But it didn't happen, but it very nearly happened at Christmas. When I went back to sort of work 3 days a week, I thought, oh, it's fine, I'll get somebody in, because, you know, the old throttling, if I want to pay somebody less than I can earn, and then therefore I squeeze more out of my hours and my time. But yeah, I do need a VA, definitely. I think, you know, the other thing, I don't know whether you've ever done recruiting, you know, in your kind of corporate life, but yeah. when you do job interviews, you know, you see so many candidates that make your heart sink, and it's so hard to get someone who's great. And I kind of want someone who lights my heart up, you know, and I think, oh yeah, this is the person I can work with, and it's not going to be like pulling teeth. And I think it's because the other thing I did at Christmas, Tim, I've systemized the whole thing. I've systemized my whole business ready for a VA. It's all done. I didn't quite take that last step.
You haven't done the important bit, which is actually getting somebody else to do it.
I've done all the preparation. But it's all sitting there, all ready to go. But I didn't just take that final step. But, you know, I know it ought to be done. You know, because really, as writers, you know, we should have people doing all these things that we do, like, you know, processing podcasts, interviewing guests, and we should just roll up and do the high value task, which is the creativity. That's what we should be doing. But, you know, it's harder to get there, isn't it? And there are bills to be paid and book covers to be paid for and proofreaders to pay as well.
Okay, well, who knows? Maybe at like episode 150, I'll bring you back and we can find out how you're doing then. So
you might find I'm dead and buried by then. Episode 1000.
Anyway, so you've obviously discussed this before, but how can people find out about you and your podcast and everything else?
Okay, best place, or the place I'd really like you to go, is to Self-Publishing Journeys, which is my podcast, because we can all do with more podcast listeners. And, you know, Tim and I got talking because, you know, I like Tim's podcast, and Tim listens to my podcast. I don't know whether he likes it, but he listens to it. And we offer something sort of different to the same kind of listener, I think. So, yeah, join my podcast. And from there, like all good internet marketers, I will send you off spinning in all sorts of different directions to different things that I do. So selfpublishingjourneys.com is the best place to find me.
Well, it's great to have you on the show again.
Thanks, Tim. Always enjoyable. I'll join you when I'm sort of 70 or something next time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please stop by iTunes and rate and leave a review. This helps make the show more visible. For free resources, show notes, and other helpful content, join the community at beginselfpublishing.com.